I'm a huge boundaries person, like thick boundaries. And it's been like my saving grace, really. I used to have this like belief that like boundaries kept people and things out of my life, but really boundaries keep me in my life. And that's a big differentiation that a lot of women don't understand, I think. And so
I love that. Boundaries keep me in my life. Have you ever sat and wondered, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get my shit together? Or maybe you feel like you have your shit together, but you can't seem to break through to the next level. You find yourself cycling around your goals, not fully jumping in, committing, or maybe you're like me and you love a good challenge. So you jump all the way in and then feel the whiplash of your emotions, fear, judgment, shame, overwhelm. Why do some humans have this unbreakable resilience while others seem to run and hide from their emotional discomfort? This is the question I ask myself on a daily basis, and the one I am determined to solve on this podcast. I'm here to ask the emotionally uncomfortable questions and help women thrive in all areas of their life. I'm a TEDx speaker, author of Dying to Be a Good Mother, and host of this podcast. I'm here to help women take radical responsibility for how they want to feel in all areas of their life so they can show their children how good life can feel. I started my career as a social worker, helping adults see and understand their children's behavior. But it wasn't until stage 4 cancer in 2013 that pushed me to take a deeper stand for change, uncovering how cultural expectations sabotage our dreams. I've been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Real Simple, Google, Mind, Body, Green, and more. And the number one question I get asked over and over again is, Heather, how do you do it all while having energy left over? Simple answer is I don't. I plan my week in alignment with how I want to feel. And I want to show you exactly how to do this yourself. So head on over to Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/energy. HeatherChauvin.com/energy. I have some freebies over there for you. Videos, PDFs, bonuses, how to stop yelling, how to hold healthy boundaries, and the common reasons why women block their success. Let's dive in to today's episode. How are you really? A question that I asked Jenna Kutcher, who I interviewed on today's podcast, and I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation. Jenna is the author of How Are You Really?, a new book that is coming out this week, and you need to go get your copy. She is also the host of the very well-loved podcast, The Goal, GOAL, the Goal Digger podcast. And I was really excited for this conversation with Jenna for many reasons. One, because Jenna has been around for a while in the industry, and she is just an authentic soul. And what I love about this book is it's not a business book. And her message in this book is so aligned with the message of Emotionally Uncomfortable, that how are you really is a question that she kept asking herself over again and again and again. And it gets to the truth of understanding our resistance and who we want to be and the life that we want to be living. And we have to start asking ourselves those deeper questions if we want more. So I'm really, really excited for you to dive into today's episode. I want you to go to howareyourreally.com, check out her book, the resources. I want you to listen to this episode, and if you do take a screenshot of it, you can tag me and tag Jenna as well. And just know that you are not alone. If you're sitting there feeling like something is off, and I don't know how to
walk myself back home to me. How Are You Really is a book that is going to transform how you think and feel. And oftentimes, whether it's our personal life or our professional life, we're thinking it's the thing, but oftentimes it's what's going on inside of us. So let's dive in.
All right, Jenna, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I love this. How are you really? I was like, we can go in so many ways and we're just going to have a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
How are you?
I should have known in titling my book, How Are You Really, that it would be the number one question I'd get asked.
Yeah, of course.
And it's been beautiful. So the last 4 years of my life have really been devoted to motherhood, something you can understand. And just have been, I hit the brake pedal for quite some time and I'm starting to hit the gas again. And so it's been really interesting. I would say the most honest answer is I feel very stretched in terms of feeling stretched thin, but I have realized that I feel stretched thin because I love all the things that I'm doing. I love being a mom. I love the work I'm doing. I love the book that I wrote. And so it's like, I'm being stretched thin because I love so many things.
Yeah. I think there's a big difference with like being stretched thin and like seeing it from a growth process versus a burnout process.
Oh, so absolutely.
What's your perspective on that of like growth and stretching versus burnout and not
too much? Yeah. What's funny is for me, I'm a huge boundaries person, like thick boundaries. And it's been like my saving grace, really. I used to have this like belief that like boundaries kept people and things out of my life, but really boundaries keep me in my life. And that's a big differentiation that a lot of women don't understand, I think. And so
I love that boundaries keep me in my life.
Yes, always. And so even as I'm in this busier season, I'm doing things 100% in alignment with me. So like I have a few busy days and then I have rest days. And I've really recognized that like in times of my life where I've wanted to quit something, I really just needed to rest. Like I didn't need to like full stop. I just needed to like lay down. And so while this is a very busy season in getting my book out into the world, I feel more energized and aligned than I've ever felt. And that to me is so exciting. And on top of that, I have a hard stop where I'm like, and then I'm taking a month off to be with my family. And so it's like this beautiful race where I'm like, I might be sprinting a bit right now, but like the finish line, I actually have the finish line painted in permanent marker in my life. And that feels good to me.
A Sharpie.
That's right.
You're like, dang. So how, like, I know someone who wrote a book, and I'm sure you get this question a lot, but like, what inspired you to like publicly write this book? Because it's not really aligned with what you've been teaching
at all. Yeah. It's funny because I've been on the record multiple times saying I will never write a book. And I believe that, like, really, I believe that. And something that I've been very much honoring in my life is like, we can change our minds.
Yeah.
We can change our minds. You've changed your show. You've changed your platform. We can change our minds. And I think that's beautiful. I think it shows growth and evolution. I think it shows that we're students to life. And I only know what I know so far. Right. And I remember talking to one of my friends and she was like, oh, when I finally went to write my book, it was like this spiritual experience, like it just poured out of me. And I was like, that's BS. Like that's, most people describe the book writing process as very painful. Yep. And it was actually when we were talking about growing our family to have our second child. And I had been through 2 pregnancy losses in the pursuit of our first child. And so I just had a lot of fear around that and like throwing myself in the ring again. And I met this woman who, like, it was totally by fate, not at all planned. I booked a massage in a town of 1,200, and she ended up being a very intuitive person and somebody in my life who was just really kind of spoken a lot of truth into my life. And I asked her, I was like, yeah, we're thinking about like growing our family again. And she goes, there's something you need to do and you know what it is, and it needs to come first. And it's crazy because think about anybody listening to this show. There's something in your life that you know you need to do and you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So go out and do it. And the minute she said that, she goes, do you know what I'm talking about? And I was like, it's a book. And I like went home from that massage and Drew was like, how's your massage? And I was like, I'm writing a book. And he's like, I am so confused how like you getting rubbed down decided that you're going to do something you said you would never do. And the minute that I committed to it, it did. It was the most like seamless, part of my life. And it was just inserted into my current life. It wasn't like I like booked a cabana and like went out and wrote for 2 weeks straight. It was like 20-minute increments after my daughter was in bed. And so it's kind of, I mean, it's just a crazy thing, but it really did just like come out of me. And I think I also realized too, is that so much of what I've taught in the space I've been in is teaching about entrepreneurship and marketing and strategy. And I love all of that. But the reason why I love it is it affords me to live out this philosophy that we can be awake to life, that we don't have to hustle harder, that we can like actually experience our lives now, not just like in the future.
Do you find that you're like, here's the strategy, but you got to get to this point where you are doing the thing that you know you need to do that it may scare the shit out of you or make you emotionally uncomfortable. So how do you think that goes with entrepreneurship?
Yeah, like for me, so here's the thing that I think is really fascinating. Like, I do not believe entrepreneurship is for everyone. It's freaking hard, right? Like, I've been in this for a decade. And at the same time, I personally would not trade it for the world. But there are people who are fully fulfilled and alive in a 9-to-5, who are fully fulfilled and alive as a stay-at-home parent. And those people get left out of this conversation so much. I've been somebody who's left people out of this conversation because for me, entrepreneurship is the way. It's the way of living. But I think a lot of us in our lives, we have something that we're avoiding, right? Like it's uncomfortable. Even when somebody introduced me as an author the other day, I was like, oh, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. Like where it's like, we are so scared to clothe ourselves with these new identities because we're worried mostly what are other people going to think about them? Yeah. It's not even like I saw my husband reading my book. So like throughout the whole process, I didn't let him read any of it. I didn't want anyone's opinions. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like you feel like you're standing naked on a stage. And the other night I walked into my bedroom and he was reading it. And I like felt so vulnerable because I was like, you've lived these things and you might have lived them in a different way than I experienced them. But like, this is my story. And so it's emotionally uncomfortable, but it's the most beautiful, like energizing experience when you can find alignment in what you know you should be doing.
So I wanted to interrupt today's podcast. I know you're really enjoying it, but we have a sponsor. And listen, you know that I don't talk about shit if it hasn't impacted my life. So today's sponsor is Athletic Greens. Yes, Athletic Greens. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I started hearing about them on all these other podcasts, and then they started sending me Instagram, their ads and targeting me. And I was like, what is the hype? What is this? And they actually reached out to me and sent me a pack of their AG1, like green nutritional supplement. And I thought, all right, let's try this out. So what did I do? I started using the product because I don't share shit if I'm not using it myself. And it really made an impact in how my morning routine went. It was about a month ago, I actually decided to give up coffee. I talk a lot about what does your body need from you? What are you craving? And it just, I would ask myself and I would kind of get like, you got to let go of coffee. That knowing you got to let go of coffee. So I kind of replaced my morning coffee with my AG1 supplement. And what I do is I wake up in the morning and when I'm on, when I'm killing it with my habits, the night before would have a huge gallon water bottle filled with water. And I pour some of that into my mason jar. So I have a liter mason jar and I kind of just keep pouring it throughout the day. And so what I do is I take my first scoop of AG1 and I put it in there, I mix it up and I drink that before I do anything else in the morning. Like that is one of my morning routines that I stick to all the time. And the amazing thing is even when I'm traveling, they actually have travel packs. So I just rip a pack open, I put it inside my water wherever I am. And I also put it in the boys' smoothies. So AG1 has 75 high quality vitamins and minerals and whole food source superfoods, probiotics and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It does literally all those things. It's cheaper than getting all of those different supplements. I don't know if you're annoyed. You open that supplement drawer and you're like, damn, I got like enough money invested in these stupid supplements that I never take to go on a trip. So I'm telling you right now, it's literally a scoop. It's like $3 a day that it costs you. And if you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for your family. So scoop that shit inside of their smoothies, make magical shit happen. I personally notice a huge, huge shift in my mental clarity, because when I am on my game, I'm less anxious, I'm more focused, I'm more present with the boys. And when I'm more present with the boys, I am nicer. And so it's kind of a win-win everywhere, where I can use my supplements and they can benefit from that as well. And they can also take it too, which is amazing when you can share your supplements with your kids. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free, yes, I said free, 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/EU for emotionally uncomfortable. That is athleticgreens.com/EU. And guys, start to take ownership for your health. It's the little, tiny, tiny micro habits that make a bigger impact in how you want to feel. Let's dive back in to today's interview.
Because you're allowing yourself to fully be seen.
Yes.
As you.
Yeah.
So what do you think the correlation with that fully being seen and also deeply trusting yourself, that intuition, that knowing?
Yeah. So there's a line in the book that says, loneliness is not being in isolation. Loneliness is being surrounded by people and not being fully known. And I believe that. I believe that we are so hungry for connection, and not just like the generic surface level connection. We are so hungry for deep connection, to be welcomed, like to have our brokenness, like be like welcomed in, right? Like as whole humans. And something that I think is fascinating, why I think the timing of this book couldn't be better, is like, as we are navigating into this new world of like, we've all been through this collective experience now, how do we move out of it? A lot of us recognize like we can't compartmentalize the pieces of our lives. Like we can't just be like mom version and career version and wife version and friend version and like just put ourselves into these tiny little Tupperwares and like, release ourselves in certain settings. We are whole human beings. And like when we are invited to show up as who we truly are, and like step into a room and say like, I'm a hot mess over here, but I've got this thing going. And like, I understand this, but I'm learning this, like, then we like have those real connections, not just with other people, but with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I really do believe that like in a culture that is so connected, but disconnected, that is so lonely and unseen, when we allow ourselves to be fully seen, it's like we're clothing ourselves with this idea of like, I am whole and I'm meant to be this way. And I'm going to use the things, the quirks, the mistakes, whatever it is, to like show up and make a bigger impact. And I think that's when we really step into our calling.
Yeah. And you know what I love? I just want to say this publicly.
Yeah.
But what I love about you is just stepping into this. It takes a lot of the mask off of what success looks like. And I think that's so important for women as well. And you talk openly about that. And you're like, you can go after this and you can receive this success, but like you still matter. Like how you feel matters.
Yeah.
And I've seen you talk publicly about obviously your body a lot.
Yeah.
How do you how has your relationship changed with that and not trying to, and just being your authentic self in your body?
Yeah, it's wild. So it's really funny. When I first started writing the manuscript, it was a business book, because I put myself in the corner of like, this is what I'm known for. This is what I do. And when I had the realization of like, I just like entrepreneurship because this is what it's afforded me. But even when the book was a business book, I talked about our bodies, because we are spending so much of our lives hating our bodies, changing our bodies, punishing our bodies, celebrating our bodies, like all these things. There's so much focus and time and thought wasted on our companions in life. Like our bodies are not the enemy. They're the teammate. And for me, like I have always just had this, like this internal narration of like, you are the fat friend. You are unlovable. People are going to look at you and think you let yourself go. When we went through 2 miscarriages, like your body can't do the one thing it was supposed to do. You are a failure, like all of these things. And one thing that I think is really crucial is there's this line in the book that says, the way we show up for our battles is directly linked to the type of warrior we believe we are. And for so many of us, we don't feel like a warrior and we don't feel worthy of the fight. And a lot of that stems from confidence, and a lot of confidence comes from the way we look. I mean, the world eats with its eyes first. And so many women, especially ambitious women, are told like, you can be beauty or brains. You have to pick. But it's like, why can't we just be both? And we are both. We really are innately. And so, for me, like I've had so many insecurities about my body, and like talking about it online sometimes can be a coping mechanism of like, I'm going to call this thing out before you weaponize it against me. I'm aware of it, but it's come to this like full circle place of like, I look at my daughters and I'm like, you are so freaking perfect. And then I'm like, oh wait, I'm made by the same maker. Like the way your rolls are so delectable is the same for me. And so it's really just like coming home to my body over and over and over and over again. And like moving through life, not trying to separate my heart and my soul and my brain from my body, but being one.
Every time I talk to someone, and it's always like, come home, come home, come home. Yeah. Actually, randomly, this book is sitting next to me. Do you know Homebody?
I have read parts of it. I've not read the whole thing, but she is amazing.
I just went to go see her live. She's on like a tour right now.
I saw that.
She's magic. And I think she's from Toronto.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a relationship. We're all coming back. Everything is relationship based. When I was going through my treatment in cancer, it was like, oh gosh, I've abused you for so long and I'm so mean. And now it's coming back. Okay, why am I anxious? Why am I overwhelmed?
Yes.
Do you have any I hate the quick tips and strategies, but practices that you typically do to connect to your body?
Yes. Yeah. So when I was going through our fertility stuff, I started doing acupuncture. And it was funny because I was doing it for like all these other benefits, but I think the main benefit was getting quiet with myself. Like when you have a bunch of little needles in you, you're not really rolling around or texting, and I would lay on the table and I would just like put one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly. And I would like do like cyclical breathing. And it's funny because like even some days my Apple Watch will like be like, reminder, breathe. And you're like, oh yeah, that thing, where it's just this beautiful thing. But I would listen to this song. It's called it's by Trevor Hall. And it just says, I have everything I need. And it's like this repetitive, like, I have everything I need. Everything I need is within me. And, I'm a Christian. So like, I also believe like there's something much greater than me. But at the same point too, like, I believe that I am fully equipped and like divinely appointed. So like, I have everything I need. And I would just come back to myself. And it's so funny because I used to say like, I don't meditate. I don't do any of those things. In fact, in my book itself, it says that. And I'm like, hi, contradiction again. I'm changing and evolving. But I have learned that like meditation is not quieting your brain. It's just having awareness of your thoughts. And if we want to shift the narratives in our heads about what we believe about ourselves or imposter syndrome or how we feel in our bodies, we have to just simply start with being aware. And so it's like quieting your mind is just noticing. That's it. That's all that meditation is. For anyone that has believed that like you have to just like sit there and like be quiet and like not think of anything, you're wrong. And so for me, it's like really just like paying attention, noticing, breathing, and really just like coming back to myself and being like, I am fully equipped. I know I can do this.
I love that. My first online product was called Teach Your Kid to Meditate. And then I laughed and realized that I was the one that needed to meditate and not
You're like, teach me to meditate.
Yeah. Yeah. And the perceptions that we have, right?
Yes.
So Jenna, when does your book come out? Where can we get it? And what do you have going on post-book?
Yeah. So I'm so excited. So the book is released on June 28th. And I use the word release very intentionally because the thing about books, which is you could literally continue on and go back and forth and edit it to oblivion. And so I get to finally just release it into the world on June 28th. And you can grab it anywhere books are sold. It's called How Are You Really? Or you can go to howareyourreallybook.com, and we have some fun bonuses for anyone who orders, and resources and exercises and things that are inside of the pages. And I'm so excited. My family is going to come to New York with me when the book comes out. Drew has never been to New York. And so we're bringing the girls, and my mom's coming along, and it just feels like this really beautiful celebration. I think when I was writing, I was just like, even if someday they read this book, it's not about being more like me or being more like mom. It's like how to be more of themselves and how to define success on their own terms. And so while I'm excited for the world to read it, I'm excited for my girls to learn how to read someday so they can read it as well. And I just want to say too, thank you for the work that you do, and for trusting in the timing, and for pivoting into the right paths. And I think it's just a beautiful reminder for anyone listening. If you are looking at your life today and you're like, I'm not where I thought I was, or I have arrived and it doesn't feel good, you are welcomed and invited by both of us to change your mind, to change your way, to pivot on the path. And you are just a beautiful leader in that. So thank you for doing that for us.
Thank you, Jenna. And you've given me so much permission that that is what nature is, right?
Yes.
It sways in the wind. So
yes.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
There it is. You just listened to the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast. If you want to take this conversation to the next level, head on over to our private Facebook group community, heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. My last name is spelled CHAUVIN. That's heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. Also, if you are a huge fan of this show, please rate and review it on iTunes. Every review helps another woman like you take back control of how she wants to feel and become emotionally uncomfortable. I truly believe the better we feel, the more alive we become. This is how we are going to change the world. And if you've been watching me for a while, if you've been on the fence and you're curious, how can Heather help me? Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/work with me to check out my mastery and mastery business coaching programs. That's heatherchauvin.com/work with me.